Hey Gators, Miss Amanda here. Welcome to Earth Day 2021. The theme for this year is Restore Our Earth. This is a virtual field trip brought to you by Future You Eco Action. As the world goes back to normal, we can't go back to business as usual. Today, we will join Discovery Education and Boeing as we celebrate the 51st anniversary of Earth Day, the worldwide event focused on promoting clean living and a healthy, sustainable habitat for humans and wildlife. The first Earth Day in 1970 mobilized millions of Americans to take action to improve the environment and is credited with launching the modern environmental movement. 50 years later, Earth Day is now focusing on climate change action as citizens around the world unite to tackle the biggest challenge to the future of our planet. So first, we'll watch a video on the history of Earth Day. Then we will have a quiz to check your knowledge about Earth Day. Then we'll go on the Eco Action virtual field trip. During this virtual field trip, we will investigate the themes of air, land, water, and waste as we explore how we can do our part to improve the environment, as well as how a large company like Boeing is doing its part too. Then we will finish up with an Earth Day, April 22nd, 2021 video, a call to action.
Yeah, right? You show them one of the books that inspired Earth Day. That book inspired Earth Day. You want to hold that? You hold that book, and we'll talk about Earth Day. Okay. How about I get you a pen? Earth Day. Did you know it's the largest secular holiday in the world right now? Yeah, apparently Valentine's Day and Halloween and St. Patrick's Day aren't nearly as large. But do you know the history of those events better than you know the history of Earth Day? I know I did. So I did a little research. I'm going to take you back to 1969. And it was a time when people started to get really upset because everything was getting polluted, like the air, water. And you remember DDT? They were using it then, and those eagle eggs were getting screwed up. And the Silent Spring was written. And then in 1969, we had the worst oil spill on American soil in the history of oil spills at the time. So everybody was like, man, we gotta do something. Big business is messing up the environment, and we the people don't really want anything to do with it. And then there popped out this one guy, Senator Nelson, and he said, you know what? We got to do something. I've been trying for a long time to get the politicians in Washington to listen, but they need to hear from the people. They need to know that the people want environmental protection. And so he said, let's take a lesson from the Vietnam War activists, and they're doing all these teach-ins where they sit down and talk about the issues that are happening about the war. But let's do it about the environment. And let's do it on April 22nd, 1970. And that day started to be called Earth Day. And it was a huge success. See, he started to organize the event, and he didn't have to do that much, because at a grassroots level, people started to organize it all over the country. And it was a huge success, because 20 million Americans celebrated Earth Day that year, and the politicians listened. You see, no matter if you were a Democrat or Republican, everybody agreed the environment is important. Because, like, if you go out into your backyard, you don't want a big dump back there. And so, later that year, they created the Environmental Protection Agency. And it also laid the groundwork for lots of other things, like the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act and the Endangered Species Protection Act, which are all good things. And so Earth Day's changed just a little bit, but it's still a day to learn about environmental issues. It's my day, it's your day. It's our day to say, hey, we care about the environment so much that we want to learn more about the issues that are happening right now so that we can make wise choices. And that's what Earth Day is all about. And so we have an Earth Day challenge for you.
Can you go outside by yourself for 15 minutes and just observe? All right, it's simple, but it's a good one. That's it. Happy Earth Day.
So enjoy Earth Day, and maybe make every day your Earth Day.
Okay, so let's start our quiz, see if you guys were paying attention to that video. So which day is Earth Day? Is it April 22nd, December 21st, August 12th, or October 31st? And it is April 22nd. Earth Day falls on April 22nd. This is a 50-year-old tradition established in 1970, dedicated to bringing the environment to the forefront. Each year, Earth Day Network works to bring together communities around the world in a huge campaign to tackle modern-day environmental problems in an effort to continue the Earth Day tradition. Okay, question number 2. Which was the first book to set the stage for society to change in becoming more environmentally aware? The Lorax by Dr. Seuss, The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, or Population Bomb by Paul Ehrlich? It was Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. Published in 1962, Silent Spring was an extraordinary book that opened the public's eyes to the dangers of DDT, the first broadly used synthesized pesticide to wildlife and human health. Due to the public outcry raised by Silent Spring, DDT was banned in 1972. But the impacts of Carson's book did not end there. For the first time, the environment became a part of the public consciousness, and more than 50 years later, we see the effects of that as people across the world take up Carson's banner in the modern-day environmental movement. Okay, next question. True or false? Throughout its history, Earth Day has only been supported by Democrats. The answer is false. Support for the environment has never been just a partisan effort. In fact, the first Earth Day in 1970 was created by a bipartisan effort, and the co-chair of the original teach-in was Pete McCloskey, a Republican congressman. True or false? The idea for Earth Day came from Gaylord Nelson, and that is true. The idea for a national day to focus on the environment came to U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson after witnessing the ravages of the 1969 massive oil spill in Santa Barbara, California. Inspired by the student anti-war movement, Senator Nelson announced the idea for a national teach-in on the environment to the national media. Hayes built a national staff of 85 to promote events across the land, and April 22nd, falling between spring break and final exams, was selected as the date. By the end of 1970, the year of the first Earth Day, the Environmental Protection Agency was created. Which of the following acts was not passed that same year? The Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Endangered Species Act, or the Marine Mammal Protection Act? So the Marine Mammal Protection Act was not passed in 1970. By the end of 1970, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Endangered Species Act had all been passed in a series of landmark environmental victories. However, the Marine Mammal Protection Act was not passed until 2 years later. The legislation protects all marine animals with certain exceptions under the take prohibition. True or false? Earth Day is the one and only day during the year that you should care about the environment and act to protect it. And that is false. And this couldn't be more false. You should always care about the environment and act to protect it. Earth Day just brings together people from across the world in a huge effort to do so. Well, thanks for participating in that quiz. And now we will go on our Eco Action virtual field trip.
Planet Earth needs you, every one of you, working together today for a better future tomorrow. Clearer skies, cleaner water, healthier lands, smaller human footprint.
Today, you're going to learn some of the ways, big and small, you can help the planet. You're also going to hear about some of the ways Boeing is doing its part too.
Cutting-edge technologies, cleaner manufacturing processes, innovative new approaches, and a commitment to reduce, reuse, and recycle its waste. Because when it comes to helping the environment, The future is now, and it includes you.
Hey everybody, I'm Jasmine. I'm excited to be at Boeing in Seattle, Washington for the Discovery, Education, and Boeing Future You virtual field trip. You can join the conversation today by sending us your pictures and questions using the hashtag #BoeingFutureYou. If your school is anything like mine, you're probably spending time this month celebrating Earth Day and learning about some of the ways you and your classmates can reduce your impact on the environment. Behind me is the EcoDemonstrator, a sort of a flying laboratory that Boeing is using to develop and test technologies to help make its airplanes cleaner, quieter, and more fuel efficient. It's just one of the many ways Boeing is trying to reduce its own impact on the air, land, and waterways, as well as how it reduces its waste stream. When it comes to the environment, it's on all of us, from big companies like Boeing to individuals like you and me to help the planet.
Every year, Earth Day falls on April 22nd. Only 2020 isn't just any other Earth Day. It's the 50th anniversary of this worldwide event that is credited with launching the modern-day environmental movement. The first Earth Day happened in 1970, mobilizing an estimated 20 million Americans, about 1/10 of the entire US population, to take action and help improve the environment. By the end of 1970, the federal government had created the Environmental Protection Agency and passed Clean Air, Clean Water, and Endangered Species Acts. But now, 50 years later, Earth continues to face serious threats to the quality of air we breathe, the safety of the water we drink, and the health of the places we love to visit, as well as the ways we handle the things that we don't love so much anymore.
Today, we're going to meet a few Boeing employees who will show you some of the cool, innovative ways Boeing is taking action to reduce its environmental footprint. Hopefully, you'll be inspired to take action too.
Hi Jasmine, I'm Erin Gutierrez, and welcome aboard the Boeing EcoDemonstrator 777.
This place is really cool. Tell me about it.
Well, the EcoDemonstrator program is where we make a flying laboratory. We take technologies and experiments and put them on an airplane and fly them around to see how they work.
So what kind of technologies have you tested on the EcoDemonstrator?
Well, we've tested over 150 technologies over the course of all the EcoDemonstrators. This airplane had 50 technologies on it. You can see she's done with her test program now. That's why the racks are a little emptier than they were before. But during that time, we tested things from smart cabins, so cabins that wirelessly connect, as well as we flew every flight on sustainable aviation fuel. We also tested some new materials that were made out of recycled titanium and 3D printed into a part on the airplane. And we tested materials like the floors that we're standing on, which are carpet tiles that are 100% recyclable.
What would this plane have looked like when you were flying and conducting tests?
Well, the racks behind us would have been full of large boxes that made a lot of noise and monitors and screens that we had flight test engineers monitoring data throughout all of our flights. Behind us, there was also a smart galley that was one of the technologies we tested.
Why did Boeing start this program?
Well, Boeing understands that we are bringing the world together and moving people, but we need to do so responsibly. So as we continue to fly more people around, we need to find ways to help our airplanes be more efficient and burn less fuel. One important thing to remember, Jasmine, the changes we have to make don't have to be big ones, which you'll find out from my colleague Ted Calkins when you go visit him on the Boeing ramp.
Hi Ted, it's nice to meet you.
Hi Jasmine, nice to meet you too. I'm here to tell you about a special material that Boeing was testing on the EcoDemonstrator airplane. It's called shape memory alloys.
Oh wow, so what is the shape memory alloy?
Well, shape memory alloy is actually a metal, and it literally changes shape with temperature. So these nickel and titanium atoms in the material literally move around as we change the material's temperature. And we can engineer that motion of the atoms to give us shape change. Like in this case, it's twisting, but it could also extend, it could bend. We could get all kinds of different motions out of a piece of material like this. But with this one, we wanted to make it twist so we could make this vortex generator sit down when it got cold up at cruise.
What do vortex generators do?
Well, the vortex generators that we have on airplanes now are fixed. That would be this little orange piece here. And they're actually in lots of different places on the airplane, like say on the wing. And what they do is as the air flows over, it creates this vortex behind the vortex generator. It looks like a little tornado, and it changes the way the air flows over the wing and then how the airplane flies. And they actually allow the airplane to essentially fly more efficiently. But the problem is when you get up to cruise, say at 30,000 feet, these are still sticking up in the wind, and they don't help the airplane fly at that point. In fact, what they do is they cause drag. You want to see it work?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a can of spray that would simulate being at 30,000 feet. So it's minus 50 degrees up there. Watch what happens. So as we get this thing cold, what we're seeing is that one end of the tube is fixed and the other end is twisting this little orange vortex generator till it sits all the way down. And all that's happened is those atoms moved around when we got the material cold. And when they warm up again, they're gonna move back and it'll sit right back up again.
This vortex generator looks really small. How much of a difference can it make on a big jet like the EcoDemonstrator?
Well, that's a good point. These are small, but there's a lot of them on an airplane. Let's say an airline had 100 airplanes. These would save 3 million gallons of fuel, and that would be equivalent to taking 3,800 cars off the road.
So what are the chances that we'll see a vortex generator on some of the airplanes that we fly in soon?
Well, we're working hard to figure out how to make that happen, and this EcoDemonstrator flight test was part of that process. So we're maturing the technology now and getting it ready, and then hopefully it'll show up on some of the next airplanes.
Tad, thanks so much for showing us the shape memory alloy.
You're really welcome, Jasmine.
Land pollution occurs when human activities harm the Earth's surface, such as litter tossed on the side of the road, soil contamination, erosion, or even the effects of large cities. Land pollution is harmful to plants and animals that live in the overall ecosystem. To manage land sustainably means to do it without damaging natural ecological processes or reducing the biological diversity of the area. An example is the place we're going next, Long Acres Park. It's a short distance from Boeing Field and once was the site of a famous horse racing track. 30 years ago, Boeing purchased the 212-acre site and worked with a team of architects, planners, and a wetland ecologist to create a wetlands office park that would help restore the function of its ecological systems. The result is this beautiful campus for Boeing that includes a wetland, a 6-acre lake, a 4-acre marsh, and streams and ponds. There's even a small forest here with evergreen and deciduous trees, a perfect backdrop for our next conversation. Joining us now are Indranil Ganguly, an associate professor at the School of Environmental and Forest Sciences at the University of Washington, and Amy Ban, an environment strategy director at Boeing. We're going to discuss an exciting development in air travel, the creation of sustainable biofuels from reclaimed forest material that can be used to power airplanes. So, Indro, what is biofuel?
So biofuel is any fuel that comes from organic material, which is called biomass. Now, biomass can be a plant-based biomass, like the trees, or it can be fruits, or it can be grains. Also, biofuel can come from animal waste. So all these sources can provide biofuel. One of the things I want to emphasize is biofuel is also known as renewable.
Why is the renewable biofuel better for the environment than regular jet fuels?
Biofuel is one of the options we have where we can still have our energy so that we can drive our cars, fly our planes, but we can do it with a lot lesser impact.
Where does this biofuel come from that you're using to make the aviation fuel?
We are using waste wood products, which we call forest residues, for creating that biofuel.
What do you do to these forest residuals to create the biofuel?
When we grow the trees go to the wood product sector for making wood products. However, not all of the trees used in the wood products industry. Almost 30% of the above ground biomass, which are basically twigs and treetops and branches, they got left over on the forest floor. We are going and taking that waste material, which is a burden to the environment, and we are collecting that and making biofuels out of it.
Amy, now I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Why is Boeing so interested in biofuels?
Well, so carbon emissions for aircraft is a really important issue to Boeing. We are looking at all solutions we can identify to bring down the carbon footprint of our industry as a whole. We want people to be able to fly freely and continue to travel without having to be concerned about the impacts on the planet. So in particular, sustainable fuels are the biggest potential solution to this issue. We've seen estimates of 50% up to 80% of a reduction over that life cycle. So as you produce those fuels, whether it's woody biomass or municipal waste that you're converting, any number of feedstocks, on that front end, it's bringing down the carbon emissions that are created up to 80%, which is huge. So it's a really big focus for us. We're excited about the technology innovation that's already occurred and is commercialized out there in the market today and for what's to come down the road.
Has any Boeing jet been flown using just biofuels?
Yes, right now there's Boeing planes in the air. So 6 airports around the world right now are using it on a daily basis. We've had 250,000 flights and upwards. That number is going up every single day. And then here at Boeing, of course, we've used it on test flights before it was officially approved in our operations, more recently in special projects and in delivery flights.
What an interesting program. I wonder if you could both give me and my classmates a few suggestions as to how we can practice sustainability on land. How about you, Lee?
Sure. I'd say consider using your own purchasing power to send a market signal to companies about what they actually make, what they scale up, and what they stop making. So things like reading ingredient lists and looking at, food, household goods, cosmetics. Pick what's most non-toxic. Simpler lists are usually better. Things like electronics, you can look for reusable batteries, long product life cycles. And then, of course, aviation we're talking about today. A lot of airlines will let you offset your flight with purchasing a carbon offset when you make your reservation. And then you can even reach out to those airlines and express how much you'd like to be flying on flights powered by sustainable fuels.
And do you have anything to add, Indra?
The one I want to add is very easy to remember. Those are the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. When I say reduce, if you don't need something, you don't want to buy it, because the more you buy, the more you're adding your carbon footprint. The second is reuse. Donate your materials and try to reuse things that has been previously used. That way you're not putting a burden to the environment. And third is very important, is recycle. Sort your waste so that you put less in the landfill and more goes to your recycle bin.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Water, as we know, is essential to life on Earth. While about 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, just 3% of it is drinkable. The other 97% is salt water. Would you believe that about 10% of the world's population does not have access to clean water? That's about 780 million people. Even here in the United States, polluted water can be found in many places where we live and go to school. We're joined now by Katie Moxley, a manager of environmental remediation at Boeing, who is managing a team of environmental experts who are working to clean up the Duwamish. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Jasmine.
So tell me a little bit about where we are right now.
We're here along the banks of the Duwamish River. The Duwamish River once ran through tidal marshes and mudflats to enter Elliott Bay, and it was the perfect habitat for birds and fish and other wildlife.
From here, the Duwamish doesn't look that bad. How did it become polluted, and when did that happen?
Much of the pollution in the Duwamish is in the sediment on the riverbed. So from the banks where we're sitting, it's hard to see. How it happened, all of the businesses here are responsible for making sure that the water that runs off from their property isn't polluted and that they're not releasing any toxic chemicals into the river. And unfortunately, it's happened.
What are some of the approaches you're taking to clean up the Duwamish?
Well, just here at our Plant 2 facility, we've removed the equivalent of 4,000 rail cars of contaminated sediment and bank soil. We've replaced that material with about 260,000 tons of clean sand, planted over 150,000 native plants, restored about 5 acres of habitat, which we're on here. And just south of us, we've created large bioswales that treat millions of gallons of stormwater annually before it gets into the Duwamish River.
So what is stormwater and why is it bad?
Stormwater happens when the rain hits impervious surfaces, so parking lots, rooftops. It runs off into gutters and storm drains and then eventually into our creeks, our lakes, our rivers. And if any of that water picks up chemicals that are on any of those surfaces, it'll run right into those water bodies that we're trying to protect.
How do you know your efforts to clean up this site are working?
Well, we've seen some of that happen already. We're seeing fish and wildlife return to some of the habitat here. In fact, just in this backwater habitat, one day we counted 7,000 baby salmon making their way out to Elliott Bay.
What an amazing project. Could you give me and my classmates some tips about how we can keep our waterways safe and clean where we live?
Yes, there's lots you can do. Water is a precious resource, so reduce the amount of water you use. Take shorter showers. Don't water the lawn longer than it needs. Even turning off the tap when you're brushing your teeth can save your household up to 3 or 4 gallons every day. Also, fix leaks as soon as you spot them. A simple leaky faucet that drops once every second can result in 3,000 wasted gallons a year. Minimize the use of chemicals and make sure that you properly dispose of hazardous materials like car engine oil. All of these substances can get into a body of water and damage the ecosystem. Finally, try to minimize runoff. Remember, runoff carries toxins and debris into the waterways, so sweep your driveway instead of rinsing it off. When washing your car, use a bucket instead of a hose. And use porous surfaces like gravel to allow water to be absorbed instead of running off. In fact, engineers have been working hard to develop and test a type of permeable pavement with the potential to filter toxins and minimize runoff. I believe you're headed to a school in Tacoma to learn more about that next.
We're at the IDEA School, shorthand for the School of Industrial Design, Engineering, and Art in Tacoma, Washington. We're here with 2 students, Kedrick and Stephanos, from the school, and Chelsea Mitchell, a PhD student studying environmental and natural resource sciences at Washington State University. Chelsea, tell me what's going on here.
So we're standing at a site where we are studying permeable pavements, which is a type of stormwater management that we use to allow rainfall to infiltrate pavement rather than running off of pavement and picking up pollutants.
How does this permeable pavement work?
What makes it different from regular pavement is that it actually is filled with tiny voids or tiny pore spaces. So that allows water to infiltrate through the pavement and become part of the groundwater instead of running off of the road.
Would you like to show us an example?
Yeah, let's do it. So if you could just take that water bottle and pour just a little bit of water on top of this. Hopefully, you should see the water go right through.
Oh,
So
wow,
wait
look at
for it
that.
to come down through the bottom.
I can hear it trickling through the pavement.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. What is this made of?
So this particular permeable pavement is asphalt, and it's actually amended with carbon fibers from Boeing, which is material that's been used to strengthen the permeable pavement.
So why is carbon fiber a good material to make with the permeable pavement?
Carbon fiber is a really, really strong material. So basically what it does to the pavement is it adds tensile strength, or the strength that helps prevent the pavement from breaking under really strong forces.
Are there any other added benefits with this carbon fiber?
Well, one of the things that we're trying to learn from this experiment is whether the carbon fiber can add any additional water quality benefits to the pavements. We think it's possible that it could help filter out some of those pollutants that we see in stormwater, and so we're actually testing that here.
So, Kedrick and Stephanos, what are students here at the IDEA School doing to help with this project?
Well, we're actually trying to be part of the community more, but learning about permeable pavement, runoff, and then even the rain gardens that we've also see established here. Some of the runoff from the streets, houses, anything that creates any pollution has also been going into the storm drains that lead just straight into the Puget Sound. That pretty much causes, one, the death of many salmon and the lack of reproduction for them.
Stephanos, how are you guys here at the IDEA School measuring the effectiveness of this project?
So we talked a little bit about permeable pavement. Something that's really great to tie in with that is also rain gardens. And we are lucky enough to have those two at our school here at IDEA. And one of the things that we can do with the permeable pavement and the rain gardens is measure the amount of water that flows from the permeable pavement to the rain gardens. So just here in the back of the shot, we can see this brown box that actually measures the flow of water whenever it's rainy. It measures the flow of water coming from the permeable pavement into the rain gardens. And it also takes samples every certain number of gallons to see how the water's doing and to see how clean the water is coming from the pavement to the rain gardens.
Well, thank you all for showing us this permeable pavement research project. It's really cool.
Thank you.
So far, we've learned some tips about how to help keep air, land, and water on our planet cleaner and safer. Now, we're going to talk about something that contributes to pollution in all 3 of those areas: waste.
Waste refers to material that is no longer of use to whomever generated it, and that is not being safely recycled. Believe it or not, waste doesn't exist in nature. It occurs only from human activity. Some waste is called biodegradable, meaning that it's made of substances that will eventually break down without causing harm to the environment. The length of time something takes to decompose varies widely. Paper can take about a month. A plastic bag can take more than 20 years. Scientists estimate that a glass bottle might take 1,000,000 years, while some materials, like styrofoam, never biodegrade at all.
Here to talk about one of the ways Boeing is handling its waste is Kelsey Ballantyne. She's a manufacturing leader at the Composite Wing Center at Boeing.
Hi, Jasmine.
So tell me a little bit about where we are right now.
Right now, we're in the Composite Wing Center. It's huge, as you can see, so it's about the size of 25 football fields put into this building. And the reason why is because we make the main components of the 777X wing in this building. The panels, the spars, and the stringers. So it makes up the big parts of the actual wings.
Could you explain to me why we're wearing all this really fancy safety gear?
So in the clean room side, where we produce a lot with the carbon fiber, so this here, we actually want to protect it from us. And so we want to make sure that none of the lint from our clothing or things that we called foreign object debris get into the materials. We also want to make sure that any oils from our hands do not compromise the materials, as well as we want to make sure that we are not getting this sticky material on our hands and bringing it home with us.
Can you tell me about what carbon fiber really is?
So if we think about our hair, a fiber of carbon fiber is about 10 times smaller than one of our hairs. This is a spool of our carbon fiber, which is used on the machine behind us. This has 10,000 carbon fiber pieces just in this half inch. And then it's combined with something that's called a resin or a glue to help it all hold together. And so you can use carbon fibers in things like a half inch. You can use it in things that are more like 1.5 inches. This is what we build the panels out of. This is what we build the spars out of. And then this is actually where it's woven in and out of one another into a fabric. These go on the end effector and they overlap with one another to actually be built onto a metal tool that makes the spar of the wing. Pretty amazing that fibers 10 times smaller than our hair, mixed with some glue, actually is able to produce the big components of our wings.
So why is this carbon material good for making airplane parts?
It's really much lighter. So it allows us to make a wing that is lighter for the airplane, and then that allows every time an airplane takes off or lands, it reduces the amount of energy that it has to use.
What kind of waste does this material produce?
Sometimes the machine will run and there will be leftover on the spool. So there's 16 of these spools and we can't use it after it's been out of the freezer and is out of spec. So this could be considered waste. Same thing with the reels. And then when we cut out of the fabric, we'll cut it like a pattern. And then whatever's left over is considered waste.
And what does Boeing do with this waste?
Until about 3 years ago, we were sending it to the landfill because there was no actual recycler or solution out there. And someone you're going to talk to later, Pete George, he's actually one of our great material scientists here, and he's been working for the last 10 years to figure out a technology where you can actually take the carbon fibers from the resin and separate it so you can use it again.
Tell me about the Battle of the Buildings competition.
Battle of the Buildings started about 3 years ago, and it's around Earth Day. We do it at Boeing in about 50 sites in 6 different countries, and it's all about small things we can do. So it's all about educating people. Just turn off the lights. Unplug your computer when you go home for the day. And we saved enough energy to power 3,500 homes over that time period.
Is there any way that me and my classmates can do a Battle of the Buildings competition where we live?
Of course. It's actually really simple. You go to EnergyStar.gov website and search Battle of the Buildings. And it helps you launch a challenge along with your school. So you and your classmates or your teammates, if you play on a team, can actually go and do that. It's a fun, friendly competition. So even between our 50 buildings, it was really fun. People dressed up, and it has a great impact on the environment.
Kelsey, thank you so much for telling us about the CWC.
Yep, thank you.
Here we are now with Pete George, a senior materials engineer at Boeing. Hi, Pete.
Hi, Jasmine.
So tell me a little bit about where we are now.
Well, in this location, our factory workers, our recycling team, collects up all the material from the different stations and brings it up here and sorts it. It's then packaged and goes out to our recycler.
What do you guys do to the carbon fiber material in order to recycle it?
Well, it goes through a process at our recycler where they take the leftovers from our manufacturing process, the uncured material, like Kelsey was showing you earlier, in addition to the stuff that gets baked and hard. We ship that off to our recycler, who then takes it and they shred it up into these types of flakes here, and then they remove the binder or resin, and it becomes this fluffy stuff, which is interesting but isn't really good for much. They then recombine it with new resins or binders and make products that their customers can then take and make into parts.
How much material is being recycled here at the CWC?
So far, we've been able to recycle over 1 million pounds of material, and that number is going to get bigger as we make more airplanes out of this facility.
Pete, do you have any tips for me and my classmates about what we can do to reduce, reuse, and recycle our own waste?
Yeah, absolutely. There are lots of easy ways to reduce the amount of trash you produce. Use cloth napkins instead of paper towels or napkins. Drink water from a glass or use a refillable water bottle instead of opening up a new plastic water bottle. Speaking of plastic, try not to use it when you can, especially single-use plastics like grocery bags. Do what we do at Boeing. Use the right material for the job. Use cloth bags when you shop. Don't throw out technology. About 40% of the lead in landfills comes from the improper disposal of computers and other electronic equipment. And try composting. Get your parents or your classmates to start a compost heap, which is a place where organic waste is stored so it breaks down.
Thanks so much for these ideas, Pete.
My pleasure entirely.
Well, I'm feeling inspired to make some changes in my life to help the planet. How about all of you? I hope you enjoyed this Future You virtual field trip and learned some good ways to practice sustainability in your life. I want to say a huge thank you to Boeing and its many employees and other experts who appeared in this show and shared their knowledge and excitement for their work. On behalf of Discovery Education, I'm Jasmine. Bye-bye.
And now here is Earth Day 22 April 2021, presented by Global Learning Program. Will just make you think about things that you can do at home and in your environment to help protect the Earth.
Our Earth is colorful. Our Earth is diverse. Our Earth is beautiful. Our Earth is our home. It offers us all we need: food, plants, and animals. What can we do to protect our Earth? It's the simple things that make a change. Recycling, reusable materials, second-hand shopping, saving water, reducing plastic, less meat consumption. We have to learn to take care of our waste and be more open for plastic-free options. No one is too small or young to make a change. Raise your voice for your home that takes care of you and your friends and family. Corona is a challenge for all of us. It connected us more with the simple things around us. Nature, with all its beauty, helps us to go through the scary times. Our Earth is also sick, and the only way to cure her is taking care of what we do. It's time for us giving something back to Mother Earth.
So the question is, what can you do to help protect Mother Earth? So here's a few options from NOAA that we can all do. So we can bike more and drive less, or even walk. We can educate ourselves and people around us about the importance of Earth and our natural resources. We can volunteer for cleanups in our community. We can reduce, reuse, and recycle. We can conserve water, so take shorter showers. Don't turn the faucet on when you're brushing your teeth. Choose sustainability. Learn how to make smart choices with what you eat. Shop wisely. Use less plastic. Bring a reusable shopping bag. Change your light bulbs to more efficient light bulbs. Plant a tree because they help provide food and oxygen and help cool down the earth. And also don't send chemicals into our waterways. Choose non-toxic chemicals in the home and office. So happy Earth Day, everybody. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed our virtual field trip and our seminar today.